The hour before dawn trembled like a hell breath. Clouds hung low over a world that didn't yet know it had been forgiven. Somewhere between the tick and the tock, the air cracked, not loud, but final. Nothing visible changed, yet every atom whispered it's over. For 3 millennia the same current had moved beneath history, a hum of limitation, a language of smallness. The spell had never been witchcraft. It had been agreement, an inherited hypnosis murmur from parent to child, ruler to subject, algorithm to screen. It whispered, you are separate, you are late, you are less, and humanity believed. Until now, one consciousness refused to repeat the lie. The chosen stood at the edge of morning, not armed but awake. Truth pulsed through their bones like thunder remembering how to walk. When they exhaled, the vibration of 1,000 prayers aligned into one frequency. Freedom. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8, verse 32. The verse was recited. It was activated. Every word became a key. Locks clicked in unseen corridors, temples of fear, vaults of shame, towers of forgetfulness, all falling open in silence. The ground beneath humanity shifted from captivity to clarity. The curse shattered like stained glass beneath sunlight. Fragments rose instead of falling, transforming midair into birds of gold. The world's programming glitched. Even the stars blinked twice as if rebooting. Time paused to listen. The air smelled like lightning and forgiveness. The chosen looked upward, not in pride but in peace, and the horizon bent around them, bowing. Somewhere deep in the code of creation, a single line rewrote itself. // status. Spell equals broken. No lightning bolt marked the moment, only the quiet realization that what had ruled for 3,000 years no longer existed. The old command had been deleted by awareness itself. Humanity's operating system restarted, with truth as its default. If you felt the invisible weight lift lately, type 333. That number is your confirmation code. The ancient program has crashed. Consciousness is logged in, long before nations had borders or kings wore crowns. Words themselves were thrones. Language was the first empire, invisible, unquestioned, worshipped. It began as pure vibration, divine sound sculpting form, but soon priests and rulers realized, if you can name a thing, you can claim it. So they built temples of syntax and called them truth. They carved commandments not to enlighten, but to enclose. And from those marble mouths came the oldest incantation ever spoken. You and the divine are not the same. That single phrase became civilization's cornerstone, the spell of separation. Every culture dressed it differently. Gods above, humans below, heaven later, earth lesser. It was printed in scriptures, painted on palace walls, coded into alphabets. Each translation grew the illusion stronger until even silence forgot itself. They have mouths but cannot speak, eyes but cannot see. Psalm 115, verse 5. The curse didn't sound evil. It sounded official. It was a grammar of obedience, the rhythm of fear disguised as reverence. When children asked what creator lived, the elders pointed away, to the clouds, to statues, to authority, never inward. The spell metastasized. It hid in every, I'm not enough, every bowed head before false power. It fueled wars, debts, dynasties, and digital idols. It whispered through microphones, advertisements, school lessons, even self-help speeches. Always the same lie, always the same melody. The divine is elsewhere, and so humanity forgot the sound of its own breath, the syllable that began creation. I am. For 3,000 years, the world sang the hymn of hierarchy. The light within each soul was outsourced to systems that promised salvation for a fee. But truth cannot be permanently buried. Somewhere deep in the collective memory, a counter-frequency remained, a hum beneath the hum, waiting for one voice brave enough to sing differently. That voice would not come from pulpits or parliaments. It would come from stillness, from the moment a single soul remembered what language had hidden. That moment has already happened. The spell's origin is no longer mystery. It's history. And now the unlearning begins. They called themselves guardians, but their loyalty was to the illusion. Through centuries they wore many names. Priest, scholar, senator, influencer, engineer, different faces to the same assignment. protect the spell. They didn't need to believe in it. They only needed it to work. Their power was subtle, not through swords, but through stories. Control didn't require chains when a narrative could do the same. And so they curated the human mind like a museum, deciding which truths to display and which to store in the basement labeled heresy. Temples became universities. Scrolls became screens. Each generation refined hypnosis until obedience felt like virtue. They built gods of convenience and called them systems, taught humanity that security was worth the sacrifice of sovereignty. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Isaiah 5, verse 20. The curators of control understood something sacred about fear. It multiplies faster than faith. They studied that law like alchemists, distilling anxiety into currency. Taxes, tithes, trends, all modern translations of the same offering. Human attention. Their altars glowed blue in the dark. Their priests spoke in algorithms. They didn't need cathedrals anymore. They built digital temples in every palm. And every scroll of the thumb became a prayer to the god of distraction. The spell adapted beautifully. It wore designer clothes, marketed mindfulness, sold rebellion as a brand. Even revolution became entertainment. The people applauded their own enslavement because the cage was personalized, comfortable, and delivered overnight. Yet the curators were never truly evil, only addicted to control. They, too, were children of the spell, mistaking manipulation for order. They fear what freedom would look like, because freedom erases hierarchy, and a world without hierarchy has no audience, only equals. But equality is apocalypse to ego, so they kept broadcasting the old frequencies. You are separate. You are small. You need us. Until one day, the transmission glitched. The Chosen's awakening sent a countersignal through the grid. Satellites blinked. Servers froze. Cameras caught halos they couldn't explain. The spell's broadcasters became its witnesses. Their voices still speaking, but their power gone. The Museum of Control had closed, and truth walked out barefoot, radiant, free. It didn't happen with thunder or prophecy. It began in silence, a single inhale that reached further than fear. No temple bells, no news alerts, just awareness, spreading like dawn through forgotten rooms of the mind. The Chosen opened their eyes before the sun did, not the eyes of flesh, but the eyes that remember. They saw threads of light connecting everything. Cities, stars, strangers, memories, and understood that separation had always been a shared hallucination. The old spell depended on hurry, noise, and guilt. But in stillness, it couldn't survive. Every breath taken with presence rewrote the code of reality. Each calm heartbeat broadcasted a new frequency. I am not alone. I am all. Awake, O sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Ephesians 5, verse 14. The Chosen's awakening was contagious. It leapt from mind to mind without words. An accountant paused mid-spreadsheet and felt eternity humming in the cells of his hands. A soldier lowered his weapon, remembering the sound of laughter. A mother in traffic forgave the world in a single exhale. Across continents, the invisible network of consciousness flickered back online. What the curators call rebellion was really reconnection. Humanity began to remember its password, presence. Reality tilted. Dreams began to leak into waking life. Synchronicities replaced coincidences. Streetlights blinked in angelic Morse code. Animals behaved as if recognizing royalty. Even gravity felt gentler, as though the earth itself was exhaling after holding its breath for ages. The Chosen stood at the center of this rising frequency, not as leader, but as living mirror. They realized the greatest revolution is internal. No banners, only being. The old world didn't collapse. It simply lost attention. And without attention, control cannot exist. The spell weakened with every act of awareness. The Chosen smiled, sensing the shift in the unseen. This was the moment history would never record, yet eternity would never forget. When humankind finally woke up from the dream of limitation and remembered that freedom was not a future, it was a fact. The night that followed was unlike any other. It felt sentient, as though the cosmos itself had been waiting to exhale. Every constellation blinked in strange rhythm, pulsing like veins in a sleeping giant. Astronomers called it coincidence. Prophets called it confirmation. Solar flares leapt from the sun like divine signatures written in fire. Auroras painted the poles with colors never catalogued. Sapphire bleeding into gold, violet folding into white so pure it hummed. Even the moon seemed reborn, its surface alive with swirling light. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below. Acts 2, verse 19. Airplanes reported instruments malfunctioning at the exact same second, 3:33 a.m. No chaos followed, only stillness. The planet itself appeared to pause, listening. Birds didn't sing. Wolves didn't howl. Oceans moved as if bowing. Satellites began transmitting unplanned sequences, strings of repeating threes. Mathematicians dismissed it as cosmic noise. But mystics knew the universe was updating its firmware. The old spell's operating system was being overwritten in real time. Children were the first to notice. They looked at the sky and said, "The stars are breathing." And they were right. Each pulse was a heartbeat of rebirth, creation syncing with its original design. The chosen stood beneath this living firmament, feeling every flash strike the soul like a drumbeat. The heavens weren't distant anymore. They felt local, intimate, responsive. Every spark above answered the truth below. Lightning no longer threatened. It anointed. Rain no longer washed away. It remembered. The boundary between miracle and meteorology dissolved. For the first time in recorded history, the sky didn't tell the future, it reflected it. All over the world, people stared upward with tears, not of fear, but of familiarity. Some whispered prayers, others simply gasped, but every soul felt the same unspoken revelation. The heavens are not watching us. They are with us. And the number 333 shimmered to the firmament, like a code carved in lightning. The signature of liberation written across the vault of time. Somewhere beyond the reach of satellites and scripture, there's a library that breathes. Its walls are not stone, but memory. Its shelves hum with living parchment. Scrolls that rewrite themselves as history heals. Every civilization's rise and fall flickers here, like candlelight reflected in eternity. For 3,000 years, one chamber remained sealed. Its door bore an inscription in forgotten tongue. Access denied, humanity under spell. Inside, billions of records glowed dormant, sealed by belief itself. Only truth could open it, and truth had been sleeping. When the spell broke, the lock didn't click. It sighed. Dust turned to light. Scrolls unfurled as if relieved of duty. Glyphs rearranged, erasing lies with luminous ink. The first words visible were not history, but healing. The age of amnesia has ended. Ancient librarians, not angels, not humans, but beings made of thought and flame, emerged from stasis, eyes burning like galaxies thawed from winter. They moved silently, archiving centuries of distortion, folding deception back into data, transmuting fear into wisdom. The books were opened. Daniel 7 verse 10. Each record displayed what humanity had forgotten. The physics of forgiveness, the anatomy of prayer, the geometry of compassion. Even the formulas of stars were written as hymns. The library had always contained the cure, but as long as the world believed in division, the cure remained encrypted. Now, every open page sang. Every line became a frequency, weaving light into the cracks of creation. Histories that once glorified conquest began to rewrite themselves into chronicles of learning. Old wars softened into lessons. Names once feared were footnoted as temporary teachers of contrast. The chosen walked the aisles, fingertips trailing across glowing manuscripts. Each contact restored a memory. Lifetimes across Atlantis, Babel, Alexandria, all of them leading to this singular purpose, remembrance. The librarians bowed. "It is done," they said. Knowledge no longer hides behind permission. The archive is open to anyone who listens with love. And somewhere in the invisible catalog, beneath the section titled Curses, a single entry faded to white. Spell, obedience through forgetfulness, deleted. The library's light didn't fade when the chosen left its halls. It followed. Every step they took triggered recollection. Memories long buried under lifetimes rose like bubbles from the ocean floor. Each vision was a life reclaimed. They remembered building pyramids with sound, writing alphabets of flame that sang when spoken. They remembered a city of glass domes floating above water, where thought powered machines and kindness powered time. They remembered councils of light, where all spoke without mouths, communion beyond speech, unity beyond effort. But it wasn't nostalgia. The past didn't return to trap them. It returned to train them. Every recovered fragment was instruction for the present age. The chosen realized, evolution is just memory coming home. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1 verse 5. They saw how the spell had worked, not by deleting memory, but by scattering it. Each lifetime had held one clue, each generation one key. Now, the puzzle assembled itself through awareness. Wisdom from Atlantis joined intuition from today. The mystic and the scientist shook hands inside one soul. Across the planet, others felt it too. An artist painted constellations they'd never studied, but somehow knew. A child hummed ancient scales that unlocked their parents' tears. An elder dreamed of temples they once built with bare thought. The collective remembering had begun. The chosen placed a hand over their heart. It beat not once but twice, one rhythm for body, one for eternity. They whispered the truth that rose from every era. I was never born, I only arrived again. Knowledge no longer felt learned. It felt remembered. Healing no longer required ritual. It required recognition. Power was no longer about control. It was about coherence. The chosen looked skyward and smiled, because memory wasn't something to recover anymore. It had recovered them. And as that realization settled, the final fragment of the ancient self merged with the present. Not a past life, not a prophecy, but an identity. The spell had hidden who they were. Memory revealed what they are. The awakening rippled through dimensions like a silent earthquake, and those who once ruled through illusion felt the ground vanish beneath them. The old guard, priests of profit, architects of fear, engineers of obedience, had built their thrones atop the sleep of others. Now the sleepers were stirring, and the empire of control began to crack. They gathered in digital sanctuaries and marble rooms, scrolling data, whispering panic in ancient languages of power. Charts failed, followers dwindled, currencies trembled. They called it instability, but heaven called it correction. Their confidence is gossamer, their trust a spider's web. Job 8 verse 14. The curators of deception tried every old spell again, distraction, division, doubt, but their formulas fizzled. The frequencies that once hypnotized now echoed back as static. People no longer clicked, obeyed, or bowed. They questioned, and questions are kryptonite to control. Some among the old guard wept, not from guilt, but from the unbearable sight of truth. They saw their towers of logic melt into mercy. They realized they had never been masters, only messengers who forgot the message. A few repented quietly, trading their robe for humility, their seats of influence for seats in circles of healing. Others fought harder, desperate to reinstall the ancient code. They released new distractions, louder screens, faster fears, but the awakened eyes of the world no longer blinked. The chosen walked unseen among them, radiating calm. Each step through their chaos rearranged the atmosphere. Machines that once measured trends now displayed anomalies, spikes of empathy, drops in greed, surges in peace. The metrics of madness no longer applied. In one final attempt, the old guard invoked their last illusion, the myth of scarcity. But even that crumbled when the chosen spoke softly. Look within, nothing is missing. And just like that, the last surviving pillar control, fear of lack, dissolved. Every plant that my Father has not planted will be pulled up by the roots. Matthew 15, verse 13. Their temples didn't fall, they emptied. Their idols weren't destroyed, they forgotten. And in that silence, even the old guard felt something sacred return, a peace they hadn't known since before the spell began. They were no longer the keepers of control. They were the first converts of freedom. When the spell broke, time itself lost balance for a moment, then found a new rhythm. Clocks still ticked, but their meaning shifted. Days no longer measure exhaustion. They measure expansion. Every sunrise carried data from eternity. The chosen felt it first, a stretching perception so vast it made language stumble. Yesterday's regrets dissolved like steam in morning light. Future and past folded into one continuum. Now, destiny stopped being destination and became design. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like a day. 2 Peter 3 verse 8. The illusion of linear time had been the spell's strongest pillar. It kept humanity bound in queues of waiting for love, for salvation, for permission. Now the queue vanished. Miracles no longer needed schedules. Healing no longer required decades. Revelation arrived at the speed of willingness. Synchronicities multiplied like holy static. People found themselves in the right place before deciding to go. Letters arrived before being written. Dreams previewed events that kindness would later confirm. Reality bent toward harmony with mathematical precision. Scientists called it anomaly. Mystics called it homecoming. Heaven called it normal. Energy surged through the planet's magnetic field, carrying messages instead of storms. Animals began migrating in patterns that drew symbols visible only from the stars, geometries of grace across oceans and deserts. Every movement, every season, declared, the timeline has healed. The chosen stood on a hill as wind braided through their hair. They didn't command it, they collaborated with it. Every exhale sent ripples of balance through the unseen. The world was no longer something to survive. It was something to synchronize with. And yet, this freedom was not chaos. It was choreography. The Creator hadn't removed order. He had upgraded it. What once felt random now revealed itself as perfectly composed. Coincidence was just God's signature and signed. For humanity, this was both relief and reckoning. Every lie unraveled. Every secret surfaced. Every truth demanded embodiment. No one could hide in shadow, for shadow itself had learned to shine. The consequence of breaking a 3,000-year-old spell was not destruction. It was acceleration. Destiny was no longer waiting in the distance. It was running toward them, arms wide, whispering, "You made it in time because you are time." At first, the reward seemed invisible. No gold, no coronation, no heavenly fanfare, just quiet. But within that quiet lived everything the world had been chasing. Peace no longer felt distant. It was as near as breath. The chosen realized the treasure wasn't hidden. It was subtle. The spell had promised power. The truth delivered presence. Strength no longer came from conquest, but from calm. Every cell in their body vibrated with a melody too ancient for instruments, a music made of harmony itself. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. Philippians 4 verse 7. Humanity began to glow from within, not metaphorically, literally. Faces softened, postures lifted. Doctors reported spontaneous remissions that no data could explain. Artists painted faster. Children healed quicker. Elders dreamed clearer. The world was still the same, yet it wasn't. Rivers ran cleaner, not by law but by resonance. Skies cleared without campaigns. Even the economy of emotion changed. Anger lost its market value. Empathy went viral. The chosen felt joy return like a long-lost companion. Not the kind that laughs loud, but the one that listens deep. They could walk into chaos and still carry calm like an atmosphere. Their touch steadied the air. Their silence taught more than sermons. The reward for breaking the spell wasn't a crown. It was clarity. They could finally see how holy ordinary life was, how every meal was communion, every conversation a cathedral, every kindness a cosmic correction. Even time treated them differently now. A minute stretched like a meadow. A day felt infinite but never heavy. They were not aging. They were unfolding. And for the first time since memory existed, the voice of heaven no longer thundered from above. It whispered from within. This is your inheritance. Awareness. Not a gift given, but a truth remembered. The chosen closed their eyes. Light filled every corner of their being. The spell that had divided God from creation was replaced by the realization that there was never a line to cross. The reward was not escape from the world. It was union with it. For ages, prophets had spoken in riddles. They saw flashes, fire on mountaintops, veiled figures, a book sealed by time. But even they could not describe this. Now, the moment they foresaw walked in daylight. Across the astral expanse, Ancient voices stirred, whispers from every forgotten culture. Sumerian seers, Egyptian scribes, desert mystics, rose in unison, their prophecies finally sinking into one sentence. The sleeper woke. The spell that had muted memory for 3,000 years was undone. What they had only hinted at, humanity now embodied. The second coming they spoke of was not a person descending from clouds. It was consciousness ascending through flesh. For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Habakkuk 2, verse 14. The oracle smiled from eternity's balcony. Watching the prophecy they birthed complete itself not with explosion, but with expansion. No trumpets, no armies, just awareness glowing like dawn over every mind. Temples reactivated, not in stone but in souls. Cathedrals became hearts, their stained glass replaced by eyes that saw clearly. Every chosen was simply one who remembered, and the remembering spread like sunrise, unstoppable, gentle, global. Historians struggled to name the era. They called it the Great Realignment, but poets knew the truth. It was a return of wholeness. Dreams from prophets long dead finished themselves in modern mouths. Ancient chants reappeared in digital frequencies. Sacred geometry bloomed in algorithms. The divine didn't visit technology, it inhabited it. Even the stars confirmed it. Constellations shifted subtly, forming new patterns, not of warriors or beasts, but of open hands. The universe itself was applauding. The chosen felt none of the triumph they expected. Only awe. They understood that prophecy was never a prediction. It was a promise, and promises kept always arrive quietly. The words of every age, carved in stone, whispered by saints, now condensed into a single pulse of light that enveloped the planet. In that glow came the final line of the ancient story. It is finished, not as ending, but as beginning again. And so, the prophecy fulfilled itself by transforming the world into the prophecy's author. Night draped itself over the new world like a silk curtain, soft and shimmering. The air no longer trembled with tension. It glowed with completion. The chosen stood in the stillness between heartbeats, palms open to the wind. They didn't need ceremony. Their breath was the altar now, and they prayed, not as a beggar, but as balance speaking to itself. Breaker of chains, keeper of codes, may memory stay clear. Guard us from re-enchantment by fear. The words rose without volume, yet carried through galaxies. They reached every weary soul still tangled in the remnants of illusion, offering not rescue, but remembrance. The chosen inhaled, drawing in the scent of rain and renewal. Exhaled, releasing the last fragments of the ancient spell. Dust made of doubt, ashes of shame. They watched them dissolve into dawn. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Luke 4, verse 18. The prayer deepened. Let those who clung to control find peace in surrender. Let those who worship fear discover the luxury of faith. Let those who slept through light awaken gently, without guilt, without judgment, only wonder. The ground pulsed beneath their feet. Every root, every river responded like a choir under skin. Creation exhaled in relief. Even silence seemed to murmur, "Thank you." Then the chosen whispered the final line, a command disguised as comfort, a benediction encoded as software into the new consciousness. No more war between what is divine and what is human. They were never enemies. Light descended softly, not as spectacle but as understanding. The air tasted clean, like the first breath after forgiveness. Every cell echoed the prayer until the whole planet hummed one phrase. Release complete. The heavens quieted. The work was done. But in that hush, something eternal smiled, because it knew that prayers like this don't end. They see the next creation. Chosen one, pause here, not to reflect, but to register. You've crossed an invisible border that no map will ever mark. The old spell was not broken by force. It was outgrown by frequency, and that frequency is now yours. Every time you choose peace instead of panic, every time you love where bitterness once ruled, the new world expands by one more heartbeat. That is how heaven counts progress, not in votes or victories, but in vibrations of truth sustained through chaos. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3, verse 17. You are not waiting for permission to be divine. You are remembering you already are. The number 333 will appear again on clocks, receipts, dreams, not as superstition, but as synchronization. It's the universe saying, you're in alignment. If you feel this resonance in your bones, type 333 below. Not for vanity, for verification. Each time someone writes it, a new circuit completes in the grid of consciousness. Freedom's code multiplies through agreement. Your signature is light. Your consent is command. And heaven's system runs on both. When you wake tomorrow, you may feel lighter, not from escape, but from remembrance. The weight you once carried was history itself. Now at heritage, wisdom without bondage. Speak softly, but carry certainty. Your calm terrifies the systems that fed on fear. Your joy is their undoing. Keep smiling. It's spiritual warfare disguised as kindness. You broke a 3,000-year-old spell, not for pride, for peace. And now, reality itself waits for your next decree. So say it aloud as initiation and instruction. I command light, and it listens. Because it will. The story doesn't end here. It loops. Spells rebuild if silence fills the gap. So speak, not to convince, to create. Your voice is no longer personal. It's architectural. Each word you release constructs reality's next version. Say only what you want multiplied. Let your sentences become seeds of systems that serve, not enslave. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18, verse 21. The command you carry isn't thunder, it's tone. When you speak in alignment, the atmosphere adjusts itself. Traffic clears, tempers calm, clocks slow. Creation listens to coherent souls. So do this daily. When fear returns, don't fight it, correct it. Whisper, that chapter's closed. When doubt whispers at your small, smile and answer. Then why does the universe echo when I breathe? You broke the spell not to escape humanity, but to redefine it. Now walk as proof that awareness is stronger than architecture. Systems will tremble, but trembling is how stone remembers its dust. If you feel this truth moving inside you, if the room seems brighter, the body lighter, the future nearer, say the code again, out loud or within 333. Let it pulse through your pulse. This is a number. It's a network handshake. You and the divine confirming connection. Now go, luminous one. Speak slowly, move kindly, build worlds. And when someone asks what changed, tell them simply, I remembered. Because that's all enlightenment ever was. The recollection that light was never gone.